People kind of climbing over. If we can leave some seats kind of in that back corner, just kind of, it's easier to rearrange you now than to have people struggling to get through. That'll be a little bit less disruptive. Okay. All right. Okay, so let's get going. So my name's James Hayton. I run a website called the 3 Month Thesis. Basically what I try and do is make the process easier for PhD students. So I did my own PhD in physics at the University of Nottingham. Before that, I did a master's degree and a bachelor's degree at the University of Sheffield. And I then did 2 postdoc contracts, one in France and one in Barcelona. Towards the end of my second postdoc contract, what I noticed was that there was a huge number of PhD students who were better at physics than I was. You know, they had better fundamental knowledge, they had great results, they had multiple publications. But when it came to writing a thesis, they had this terror, they had this real fear of that final process. And I thought, why is it that these incredibly smart, motivated, hardworking people are in such a state of stress? So what I'm going to talk about is how to try to alleviate that stress using some basic general principles. So I spent long enough as a student to know what it's like when you're in this kind of talk and you have to listen to somebody, and you know, we're well into the afternoon, maybe your coffee's worn off from lunchtime, and you know, it's kind of comfortable in here and you have to listen, and maybe you find yourself dropping off a little bit. Okay, it happens. So, I'm going to do something a little bit different, and I'm going to give my conclusion first, just in case we lose some of you on the way. So, in conclusion, just because a PhD is difficult and takes hard work, that doesn't mean that it has to be painful or stressful. Okay. So you may experience stress, but it's not necessarily the situation itself which is causing a negative reaction to it. It's not necessary to suffer through your PhD. Okay, so I'm going to talk about how to get through your PhD without going insane, and 5 broad areas that you need to know about and some basic principles involved. Now, there's a lot of advice already out there for PhD students. You've probably been on courses, looked at websites, read books, which give you advice about how to do a PhD, how to avoid procrastination, how to manage your time, that kind of thing. Huge amount of advice out there, and a lot of it falls into these kind of categories. So get organized, make to-do lists, set targets and deadlines, so you give yourself a structure, make sure you take good notes, write as you go so you don't have it all to do at the end, don't be too perfectionist, and then various things for managing your time. Okay, it's a huge amount of information out there. So, I just want to ask, does anybody not know this stuff? Is anybody totally unfamiliar with all of these concepts? Okay. So, second question. If you're all familiar with these things, is there anybody in the room who's taken these basic techniques or these basic principles and managed to apply it to their work consistently in a way that alleviates their stress and makes everything just flow smoothly? Anybody at all? Okay, and there's maybe 40 odd people in the room. So, if this is the standard advice, and all of you people at one of the best universities in the country, if you guys are all struggling to apply this, there must be something missing from the standard advice. There must be. Because we've got a reasonably statistically significant sample in here. I gave this talk in Sheffield yesterday, in London last week, and at the Open University in Milton Keynes as well. Not one person, out of over 100 people I've spoken to in the last week, not one person has put their hand up to say, I can make this work consistently. So, all of this stuff, it's not necessarily bad advice, because making lists can work, and time management is obviously a good thing. So the advice itself is not necessarily flawed, but there's something missing. So all of this stuff, I kind of think it's like rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. So you're doing a lot of work on the surface, which may or may not help when there's a more fundamental problem underneath. So we want to go below the surface and figure out what the fundamental problems are, and then we can fix that rather than doing these things which aren't helping. So, going to go right back to basics. So what is a PhD? At a fundamental, basic level, what is it that you're trying to achieve? So does anyone have an answer? Yeah.
To gain researchability.
To gain researchability, that's a good answer. Anybody else?
Permanent health disease.
Sorry?
Permanent health disease. It's a kind of joke.
It's a permanent health disease.
Any others? Yeah.
Contribution to the science.
Sorry?
Contribution to the science and technology.
Okay, that's a good answer as well. So, but what we want is a definition of a PhD which helps you to know what is required. Okay, so yes, you have to make an original contribution, but is that enough? And is that a good guiding principle for everything that you can do? So let's break it down. So at one level, a PhD is the highest level academic qualification that you get. So there may be some exceptions, but generally speaking, this is true. So people who do PhDs have generally done extremely well at every previous level of education. So what happens is most people go to school. Some people drop out when they, or some people leave the education system at the end of it. But the ones who've done well go on to college. And then the same thing happens. So the ones who do really well go on to university, some people drop out. And it goes all the way up until you get to a PhD. So what you're left with is you guys. So I'm guessing that most of you did pretty well in school right the way through to the PhD. That's why you're here. And so most people go into a PhD with high expectations of themselves. You've done really, really well all the way up until this point. When you get to a PhD, there's suddenly a bit of a shock to the system. And the skills which got you here aren't necessarily the skills which are going to help you to succeed. And this is one of the reasons why people find it so stressful. So, from school to college to university, even sometimes to a master's degree, there's a certain consistency of structure. The system is basically the same. So you have a set timetable, you have a set syllabus, you have a set exam, and everybody goes through the same process. So you might have a class of 30 people, and you basically all go up together. The higher up the system you go, the more specialised it becomes, maybe the more difficult it becomes, but the basic system is the same. There's a structure. And if you show up on time, and you do what you're told to do, you'll probably do okay. But in almost every regard, a PhD is the exact opposite. So, below PhD level, you have a set timetable, a set syllabus, and a standardised test. You don't have any of those things in a PhD. There's no timetable. There's no set syllabus. And you have to decide what to do. Okay, so it requires a different approach and different skills. And you have to think of the PhD in a fundamentally different way. So, to provide a definition of a PhD which is actually going to help you to understand what is required. A PhD is the entrance qualification for the world of professional academia. And it's designed to test whether you're capable of conducting research to a professional level. Now you may have your own reasons for doing a PhD. It may have a particular meaning to you, but this is why the system is set up. So you have to know how the system works in order to succeed within it. Okay. So, what do you need to succeed in the academic system? Okay. So you're no longer in this initial educational stage. You're over here in the academic system, where PhD students are at the bottom. People who do well at PhDs maybe go on to do postdocs. People who do well at a postdoc maybe go on to do lectures, etc., all the way up to heads of department and heads of faculty. So what are the skills that those people need in order to succeed in this period? What are the skills that you need to develop? Now you've probably heard that the way to succeed in an academic career is to produce publishable work. Or maybe you've heard the phrase, publish or perish. And public